Hi, this is Tim from AK Endless Sports Cards. If you have decided that you're going to go to the 2023 National, I have 7 suggestions that, in my opinion, are really important things to consider. Number 1, set a budget and stick to it. Everybody has different levels of budget, and it's all based on what you can afford. So I'm big on, trying to avoid debt at all costs, not putting anything on credit cards, things like that. So I always set a budget, a cash budget, and I stick to it. But with that said, number 2 on the list is bring cards to trade. I like to trade up when I go to shows like this. So let's say, there's a $300 card that I really want, but I have a couple cards that I brought with me that are worth $150 total. I might look to trade those 2 cards and then add in $150 to trade up to that $300 card. So I really do think that those 2 things kind of go hand in hand. You definitely got to set a budget, in my opinion. You don't want to come home from the National and be making payments, credit card payments and things like that after that you may regret. So in my opinion, setting a budget and sticking to it, but also bringing cards with you to trade are very important parts of the show. One thing that I've also noticed personally over the years, I've been to 5 or 6 different Nationals over the years, and one thing that I've noted is if it's rare and fair, buy it. So if you see a card that is very rare, it could be a 101, number to 5, number to 10, number to 25, number to 50, number to 99. If it's a card that you don't see very often, and it's something that you really want, and it's within your budget, I would buy it. And I have passed on things at the show in the past where I've kind of regretted it, because what happens is if it's rare and fair to you, it's going to be the same for somebody else, and somebody else is just going to come and pick it up. And so that's something to be thinking about, that if it's rare and fair, go ahead and buy it, because it's probably not going to be there when you come back to that table. With that said, I always have a note open in my phone where I make table notes. So when you're going to this show, especially if you've never been there, for those of you that have, you know what I'm talking about. When you go to this show, it is huge. I think the Rosemont Convention Center is over 800,000 square feet. So there are tons of dealers and tons of booths. I don't bring any notepads or anything like that because it's just too inconvenient to have to keep up with all that. I just create a note in my phone, and if I see something that I want at a table, if it's rare and fair, I try to pick it up on the spot. But if it's something I'm not really sure on and I kind of want a price check, it's a card that I see fairly often, I just ask the dealer, especially if it's not marked, I ask the dealer what their booth number is, and I add it to my phone notes with the type of card that they have and a price. And so if you make notes in your phone, I have found that to be very, very helpful at the show. Again, I'm not a notebook guy. I don't want to be hauling around a bunch of paper or anything like that. A phone note works fine, in my opinion. Number 5 on the list, be aware of promotions that are available at the show. For example, they'll have random free autograph guests. I've got Jim Jackson's autograph in the past. They had a free picture and he was there in person signing. I got a free card from Hunter Green a couple years back. He was there in person. They had cards already made for him. He signed it, met him, really nice guy. Be aware of those types of promotions. So you can typically see those on social media. If you're a part of the Blowout card forum, that's a possibility as well. But there are some promotions that come up. Of course, be thinking about if you love to crack wax. The dealers will typically have lists of wax that you can crack to get redemption packs. And so that's something to be thinking about as well. But be aware of those types of promotions. Trade nights and stuff like that. I hadn't attended too many of those in the past. I may this year. Because I think there's one at our hotel. So I might check 1 or 2 of those out this year as well. Number 6, there are some opportunities for on-site grading at the show. So I say that with a caveat. It is pretty expensive typically. I'm not aware of the prices being out just yet. But if you want to submit cards to get graded on site at the show, I would definitely suggest doing that early, like on Wednesday if you can, or Thursday, because those slots fill up pretty fast. And so that's something to consider. If you have a card that's really valuable and you don't want to put it in the mail and you'd rather just, pay, it could be $100, could be $150, could be $200. I don't know exactly what the price is going to be this year, but they do have some on-site grading. I would suggest getting there early, and I would get those dropped off as fast as you can. In addition to that, though, I know, like, for example, my group submitter that I go through, Wax Pack Nation, Jared Landress, I mentioned him in a previous video. He's the owner of it. I know that they'll have a booth at the National. And so the way I look at it is I don't want to typically pay the $100, $150, $200, whatever it's going to be. And so I may drop off cards to him while I'm there, so I don't have to pay for any shipping or anything like that. To him, and so I can drop off a group submission. They won't be done at the show, but I can give them to him, and then I can get them back from him and save money on shipping to the group submitter because you're just handing them off. And I know that I had read a post a while back on Facebook that they're planning on accepting group submissions at the show. So, get on social media if you're interested in taking a look at that. It's Wax Pack Nation. Again, I'm not affiliated with them. However, I've had nothing but good luck with them as a group submitter. Finally, number 7 on the list. One of the biggest benefits, in my opinion, of going to the National in person is that you get to hold and view raw cards in person. You know how it works. If you've been collecting for a while, or even if you're new, you're going to find that when you buy raw cards on eBay, it's really a mixed bag. Sometimes they're fantastic. I had a previous video where I had a Trevor Lawrence cubic I bought raw on eBay. I graded a PSA 10. It was amazing. Aiden Hutchinson tie-dye, graded PSA 10, amazing card. So it can happen, and there's still plenty of good raw cards on eBay, but nothing can replace being able to actually handle the cards in person and check them for condition. That is a huge underrated plus of attending this show, in my opinion. And so that's number 7 on the list. I just think that being able to look at raw cards in person is just a major advantage, because there's a lot of cards that I look at in person that I really want to buy. I look at them, it's got a ding corner, it's got a big scratch. I can actually see it through the case. Not something that I really want to buy. I don't grade everything that I buy by any means, but in the same respect, it's nice to have the option. So those are my 7 suggestions if you're going to the show, or even if you're going to go into the future. I really enjoy it. Just one final thing that I just thought of. It's not necessarily on the list, but one of the other things that I do is I take a roll cart, like a little travel roll cart with me. People talk about how, some people are really obnoxious with these roll carts and stuff like that. I've never had a problem. Just pay attention to where you're at, and if you're in tight quarters, just hold that cart in front of you. It's no different than just holding a bag. And so I always use a roll cart. It's just so much easier, in my opinion, than lugging around a backpack. So that's it for this video. I hope to see many of you guys at the National. And remember that the opportunities for collecting sports cards are endless.